Welcome to part 2 of my Justice League rewrite. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, you should probably go watch it. Even if you haven't seen it in a while, give it a watch and then come back. The link is in the episode description. But in case you've got places to be, here's the abridged version of part 1. Superman has been dead for a year. Batman feels guilty, and unbeknownst to him, at the time, someone taped a Batman v Superman fight, so the public blames Batman for Superman's death. He is working with Alfred to fight crime, but Bruce has shut out Diana and hasn't attempted to assemble the Justice League because of his guilt. A memorial for Superman is interrupted by Clayface, who Batman defeats but later learns was just a distraction for another in a string of suspicious museum robberies. Batman rushes to another museum that's in the process of being robbed, and in the museum encounters a group of supervillains calling themselves the Legion. This group is led by Deathstroke and contains Weather Wizard and Copperhead, with Toyman hacking at a remote location. Batman is almost defeated by the Legion, but at the last minute is rescued by Wonder Woman, who Alfred contacted because he correctly feared Bruce was in over his head. Deathstroke and Weather Wizard escape, but Bruce and Diana manage to capture Copperhead. They interrogate her and learn that the Legion is attempting to steal 4 Egyptian artifacts. She doesn't know why Deathstroke wants them, but knows that once the 4 artifacts are assembled, the Legion will be unstoppable. Copperhead doesn't know who else is on the team besides Deathstroke, Weather Wizard, and Toyman, but she does know that the final artifact that the Legion needs is at the Smithsonian National History Museum in Washington, D.C., and that the Legion is planning to steal it in a week. Bruce gives in, and he and Diana decide to recruit the other 3 metahumans, Aquaman, Cyborg, and Flash, to form the Justice League. Alright, let's talk about something called fun and games. Traditionally, not always, but traditionally, a movie is split into 3 parts called acts. In the last video, we covered Act 1, the ordinary world, inciting incident, lock-in, all that. Well, Act 2 is so large that it's traditionally split into 2 parts, sometimes called 2A and 2B, separated by the midpoint of the movie. Today, we're going to look at 2A, which is sometimes known as fun and games. I've heard it described as the promise of the premise. What do you expect this movie to be about? And I like that a lot more. In Jurassic Park, 2A is our main characters enjoying the dinosaur park before the power goes out. 2B is the pirates eating the tourists. In Spider-Man, 2A is Peter learning about his spider powers and fighting some crime. In Avengers, 2A is the part of the movie where the team members meet each other for the first time. And since Justice League is also a team movie, our 2A is going to be similar, not exactly the same. The 5 members of the Justice League are meeting and training with one specific goal in mind. They want to become a team. So we're going to go through my version of the first half of Act 2 in this video, and then we'll cover the other half in the next video or videos. Let's have some fun. So to start, Bruce and Diana need to recruit Aquaman, Cyborg, and Flash. So this bit is going to play out roughly the same way it did in the original movie. Bruce has already found all of the new recruits. He is the world's greatest detective after all. So Bruce and Diana are going to travel to meet and recruit our new heroes. In the original movie, they are 1 for 3, with Flash joining immediately, Cyborg showing up before the first Steppenwolf fight, and Aquaman showing up at the end of it. I want to spend some time with the full team before all the craziness starts, so in this version, all 3 recruits are going to agree and join the team immediately. My biggest change to the recruiting bit is that Bruce and Diana are going to go recruit the new team members at the same time. They're both going to go to all 3 locations to meet the new members of the Justice League. You're probably asking, well, why? That's not that big of a deal. Well, I think the real Justice League movie does some strange things with the recruiting bits, because a couple of times it sends the wrong people. Like with Aquaman, Bruce and Diana are trying to get Arthur Curry, the hard-drinking Atlantean party boy who doesn't take anything seriously, to join their cause, and they send serious, boring Bruce Wayne. Of course, Arthur is going to respect Bruce, but if Diana is with Bruce, Arthur might say, oh, this must be serious because you guys never leave the island, so I'll listen to what you have to say. Also, Arthur seems like the kind of guy who would just want to be on the team with Diana because he finds her attractive. Another good reason to have her there. Also, in this version of the movie, Arthur lives in Amnesty Bay. That's sometimes Arthur's home in the comics, or at least one of Arthur's homes. It's a lighthouse city in New England. I think it's fine that he's in Iceland or wherever he is when Justice League starts, but I want to keep this movie kind of contained to the United States, because I want everybody to be able to realistically travel from place to place pretty quickly. So they ask Arthur. Diana says, oh, we need a strong warrior who can join us in battle. I've heard stories of Atlanteans being brave fighters, but if you're not up to it, I understand. In an effort to manipulate Arthur, and it works, he agrees to join the team so that he can show Diana how tough a real Atlantean is. Then we've got Victor Stone, aka Cyborg. Now, this is another example of sending the wrong person. In Justice League, Diana meets Victor and unsuccessfully attempts to convince him to help them fight Steppenwolf. It's only after Victor learns that his father's been captured that he bothers to join the team at all. And it's because in this movie, Victor's big issue is that he sees himself as a monster. Even though the Mother Box saved his life, it took his humanity. So, if you're trying to recruit someone to join your super team, team who feels like a monster, would you send either the normal person who Victor can relate to on a human level, or the up until now thought to be fictional super being that's going to whisk Victor away on a journey to save the world? If you send Diana, that's gonna scare Victor, and that's what Victor's trying to avoid. He wants to regain some sense of normalcy, and Bruce is a normal person. He could say, listen, I understand what you're going through. Right now, we need to save the world, but once we're finished, I'm also a genius. Maybe I can help you. At least give you more control over this thing inside of you. And this is very important because in this version of Justice League, Cyborg is going to be way more of a mess. I didn't hate Cyborg's character design. I don't think it was executed super well. And if that kind of fractured, jagged alien look is what we're going for, I want to go further with it. Cyborg should be constantly shifting, moving all the time, like a Rubik's Cube, in the process of being solved. Not so much that it's distracting, but enough that we see it and get this feeling that Victor really isn't in control. He's scared of his new body because it has a mind of its own. In the original Justice League, I don't think we really get that feeling. Every so often, the body will come up with a new weapon or something, but a lot of the times it's the thing that Victor needs. It isn't a problem outside of the Superman fight. This new suit is going to be a silver tinfoil mask that's constantly in motion, and it has definition. It won't look like CGI garbage. In fact, I think if the suit is supposed to look like an alien metal taking over Victor, the CGI will be a little bit more forgiving. Victor's body is behaving in a way that isn't supposed to look normal. It's supposed to be chaotic and messy. And the reason that I believe it's important to visually sell this idea that Victor's suit is out of control is because he needs to seem way too powerful. And here comes Retcon 3. In my version of the DCEU, Cyborg has a mother box inside of him. That's how Silas Stone saved his son Victor's life. He didn't just put the mother box near Victor. Silas put the mother box inside of Victor's chest and it's stuck there. So it's kind of like Iron Man's heart or Vision's Mind Stone. And you may be saying, well, in these movies, mother boxes are big. Yeah, but they're not usually big. In the comics, they're usually around the size of a large cell phone. They've changed it recently in the comics to line up with this movie design, but a mother box is traditionally something you can hold in your hand, put in your pocket. So I want it to just be sitting inside of Cyborg, and that's what makes him really, really, really powerful. All these upgrades and all of his powers come from the mother box being inside of him. Bruce and Diana both go to meet Victor, but Diana doesn't tell Victor that she's Wonder Woman yet. They tell him that they can help him, but first he needs to help them stop the Legion. They know Victor is scared of using his powers, so they don't want him to fight. Another clever thing that I believe Justice League can learn from Avengers is that not everybody on the team is simply recruited to fight aliens. They just kind of become the Avengers, like Iron Man and Captain America are recruited to fight aliens. And Black Widow and Hawkeye are already part of S.H.I.E.L.D., but that's not everybody. Thor just shows up. He isn't assembled on purpose. Even though he's aware of S.H.I.E.L.D., it's a coincidence that Thor is part of the team. And I don't think there's any plan to call Thor. He just needed to capture Loki, so he's with the Avengers by coincidence. And then Bruce Banner, the Hulk, he's only helping out because S.H.I.E.L.D. needs to find the Tesseract. And Bruce is the person that knows the most about gamma radiation that the Tesseract conveniently gives off. He doesn't want to fight because he believes when he turns into the Hulk, he becomes a monster. He wants to maintain normalcy in his life, a lot like Victor. We will have Victor join the fight eventually, but not yet. That's going to take time. So for now, Bruce just says, listen, we need you to help us with the Legion of Doom. You don't have to fight them. You just have to hack well enough to stop the Toyman. And like I said, we'll help you with the mother box once this is over. So even though he's scared of his own power, Victor agrees that he could use the help. And also, deep down, he wants to be around people who understand what it's like to be that powerful. Last one's Flash. I think Barry Allen's introduction is great in the original Justice League movie, where Bruce asks him to join and Barry immediately agrees, except for all of the reshoot hair. Barry's hair changes a couple of times in this scene, and it clearly has to do with reshoots. Barry has more gelled hair in Snyder shots and then dry hair in Whedon shots when he's talking about brunch. I guess they didn't have any gel that day, I don't know. The only big changes I want to make to this scene are A, Barry doesn't have a costume yet. I know that he used it in Suicide Squad, but let's just pretend he didn't or something, or he went back in time. I don't know. I don't like that Barry already has this costume because he's not really going out and fighting crime. He's just stopping muggings and stuff like that. Like, being a costume superhero doesn't really seem to be his goal. It's not like he's been around and always fighting bank robberies left and right and he's this known figure in Central City, which is why I think it's kind of out of place that he does that in Suicide Squad. This Flash is just kind of doing what he's doing. He's trying to get degrees and become a forensic scientist so he can clear his dad's name. So he doesn't have a suit. Maybe he has like a crappy one, like a pair of pajamas, and no branding. But then B, the more important change, we've already talked about this in Act 1, Bruce doesn't want Barry to join the team. Even though Victor and Barry are apparently technically both the same age, like they're both 25, I think think Bruce sees Victor as way more capable, and also Victor's not going to be in harm's way anyway, so it doesn't really matter as much to Bruce. But with Barry, this kid is young, he's naive, his dad is in jail, he wants a father figure. Bruce doesn't want to do that again. He's had all the same problems with Robin. So when Bruce goes to recruit Barry, he's secretly hoping that Barry will turn him down, which is the opposite of how it's done in the movie. But Barry wants to join. He thinks Bruce Wayne is cool because he's rich, but more importantly, he's smart, and he looks up to Batman because Batman is the world's greatest detective, and that's kind of what Barry wants to do. He wants to become a forensic scientist. So Barry joins. Bruce doesn't feel good about it, but now we have the team. The next thing that has to happen, everybody has to meet. They go to DC. Bruce happens to own a warehouse in DC where they can practice and learn about each other, but also Bruce wants everyone to be close to the Smithsonian just in case something happens quickly. Now again, Bruce is out of his comfort zone. He's comfortable being alone in Gotham, and now he's working with a team far from home. And I mean, it's DC. If there was a real city called Marvel City, you would assume the Marvel heroes would end up there eventually. So let's assemble the Justice League in the literal DC. So the team members all meet, and now we're going to start developing who these characters are, and more importantly, how they all feel about each other. We're getting Flash, Aquaman, and Cyborg interactions. First thing, right off the bat, Barry is scared of Arthur. Arthur's very macho and dangerous. Arthur isn't mean to Barry or anything, he's just not Barry's kind of guy. Barry was recruited to use super speed for recon and saving people. He's not a fighter. So Barry immediately steers clear of Arthur. Arthur sees Victor and he's worried about him, not just because of the mechanical body, but Arthur knows what a mother box is, and he could tell, you've got a mother box in you. Those things are dangerous. Do you know if you can control it? And Victor's like, I don't know. I'm trying to. So right off the bat, Arthur and Victor both kind of don't like each other. Now, Victor feels really out of place, and sensing his discomfort, Alfred calls Victor over. Alfred's helping out at the DC warehouse, setting everything up, and he asks Victor for help with the Batmobile. While everyone is training, Victor and Alfred are going to set up and upgrade all the new hardware so that the new base is like a mini Batcave. Barry is, like I said, just enjoying all of this. He's spending as much time as he can with Bruce, learning about the suits, sitting in the Batmobile, and just as Bruce feared, Barry sees him as a surrogate father figure. Barry also says, ooh, I want to figure out what we can call this team. Like, we need to have a name. Oh, Super Friends. Nah, that's a little too 70s. What about, like, the Syndicate? Nah, that sounds like bad guys. Give me a couple of days. I'll think of something. We'll get back to that later. Now that everyone's met everyone, Bruce, Diana, Barry, and Arthur sit down and just talk strategy. Bruce explains the situation which supervillains are dealing with. Bruce asks for an explanation of everyone's powers. Everyone gives a short rundown. I'm really good at karate. I can fly and have a magic lasso. I'm really strong and durable. I thought you could talk to fish. I'm really fast. Then we have this very important interaction. Bruce says, all right, now that we know each other's powers, we need to also know each other's weaknesses so that we can watch out for each other in case there's trouble. So what do we have? Arthur says, I'm not telling you that. We just met. This could all be a setup. Besides, my powers work the same way every Atlantean's powers work. If I tell you my weakness, I'm selling out all my people. Bruce is annoyed, but says, fine. Diana, can you start? Diana looks down. Bruce says, come on, Diana, you know me. Diana looks up and says, Arthur's right. I have a responsibility to my people. I trust you, but I cannot give up the secrets of the Amazons, even for this. I'm sorry. Bruce is defeated. Fine, we don't have to. But then he's cut off by Barry. Cold. I'm weak against cold. Sub-zero temperatures slow down my molecules, and I can't run fast. Also, ice is slippery, so cold is bad. Bruce smiles. Thanks, Barry. We'll keep an eye out for that. This is a really important scene. It's the first sign of conflict in the group. They don't fully trust each other, but it's also the first sign that Barry's positivity is going to keep the group going. Barry Allen adds a lot to the Justice League generally, but his optimism is probably his greatest asset to the team. It's partial naivety, but these heroes need him around to keep themselves grounded. So now that this strategy session is over, it's time for training. They're just gonna feel out each other's powers. Like I said, not Victor. He's on the sidelines, but everyone else is training together and learning more about each other. Diana and Arthur are going to spar, and the fight's gonna be pretty cool. They're gonna be evenly matched until Arthur plays dirty. Arthur tricks Diana and knocks her down. Diana gets angry. She says, those aren't the values of our ancestors and of the old world. And Arthur says, screw the old world. We're our own people. What'd they ever do for us? We're setting up this chip on Arthur's shoulder. He doesn't really feel connected to anyone. But we're also setting up a chip on Diana's shoulder. Maybe she doesn't really like Arthur. Maybe he's not this honorable Atlantean hero she hoped he would be. But maybe Arthur's right. Maybe Diana does need to let go of the old world. I also want to have Bruce and Barry spar. Get a feeling for what Barry can do. He just runs and Bruce uses gadgets. Batman has so many gadgets in this movie, it's insane. So he's going to be using some we haven't seen yet or really even heard of. You can't even imagine it. And this isn't like a fight. It's more of Bruce teaching Barry how to fight in case he gets in trouble. And Barry tries, but he doesn't do a great job. Not only is he not fighting well, but but Barry isn't running as fast as Bruce expected he would. This may seem like a retcon or seem like kind of inconsistent with what happens in Batman v Superman. We see the surveillance video of Barry and he's really fast. And this Barry is pretty fast, but he's not even close to that fast. But this isn't really a retcon, it's more of a plot thing. But Bruce still teaches Barry, he's giving Barry encouragement, and Barry is really responding to it. Now Bruce is slipping back into behaving the way he did when he was working with Robin. He feels comfortable training a kid to fight, and that's something that he really liked doing for a while. It made him feel good. Bruce always wanted a family, and he is determined that it would be helpful for society to have him and Robin out there fighting crime. But Bruce sees where this is going and he says, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not getting emotionally connected to these guys. I can't, because they're just kids and I don't want to put them in harm's way. Next, we're going to have Diana race Barry. So this is going to be fun. Since Superman's not in this movie, we can't have that Superman Flash race from the end of the last movie, which I thought was terrific except for the lip and all the brunch stuff. They're going to run around the compound. Bruce explains to Diana, I think something's wrong with the kid. I know he's faster than this. I think he's holding back. So Diana and Barry race and they tie. Now Diana is convinced that something's wrong with Barry. So Barry and Diana sit down after the race and they talk. Diana asks, are you doing all right? You seemed a little slow out there. I mean, for you. Barry says, oh, I'm fast. I'm just not, I'm not like you guys. You guys are super, you're like gods and I'm just a guy. Then Diana gets it. Barry's problem. He's holding back. He feels intimidated by these other team members. So she's going to tell him a story. I don't have this story written, but Diana's just going to tell Barry a story we're pretty much going to make up about Hermes and some connection between all the Greek gods. It says, oh, Hermes was the messenger god, but he didn't hold dominion over the earth or Hades or the oceans or war, the sun or anything like that. He just had his speed and his spirit, but he was one of the most powerful gods in Olympus, something like that. Because it is insane that Flash is pretty much Hermes, even down to his costume. I mean, look at the original Flash costume. And at no point does the Greek demigod talk to Flash about the Greek god that he resembles. It's crazy that that never comes up. This is going to be their bonding moment, and Barry's going to take that to heart. Then a little later on, everyone's going to get some downtime to just chill. Barry decides to visit Victor. Barry very fake casually bumps into Victor. Oh, I didn't see you there working on the car. Sorry. Hey, oh, by the way, you're Victor Stone, right? Yeah, I'm Victor Stone. Oh, I used to watch you all the time. Because Victor is a famous guy. Victor Stone was a popular football player, and this interaction is important because by building up what Victor was, we're taking more away from him. It will show us, the audience, that Victor really had a shot at being the greatest athlete of his generation. And then this accident happened, and now Victor can't do that anymore, and it makes him feel bad. Barry says, oh man, you were the best. I mean, you are the best. Victor's like, no, I was. That was great, and then this happened, and now that's done. Barry says, yeah, I get it. I was in an accident too. Because I like that interaction in the real Justice League movie where Barry and Victor are digging up Superman's grave. Jesus, what a sentence. The problem there is, they don't really get into it enough, and this interaction doesn't seem to affect Victor in a meaningful way, because I asked a couple of questions on Twitter this week, twitter.com/NandoVMovies. Please follow. One was, which new Justice League character worked the best? And the other was, what are everyone's favorite lines from Justice League? Which led me to two conclusions. One, people really liked Cyborg's lines. The big ones about being the one who's paying for his gifts, and the small ones like so do I, connected with a lot of people, along with my favorite joke answer, you should probably move. A line from the trailer that was cut from the movie. But the other thing I learned was that Cyborg was at the bottom of the which new character worked the best voting, and a lot of people said it was because the character didn't get enough time to be fully developed. Ray Fisher was doing a great job and Cyborg's writing was good, but there just wasn't enough of him for anyone to really care about the character. So this movie would take scenes like that a lot slower to flesh out the character more. Flash and Cyborg are both the accidents, but Barry sees his powers as gifts, and he's just had this cool pep talk from Diana about how powerful he can be, so that positivity can rub off on Victor. No, dude, you're awesome. Victor Stone can throw a football, but he could probably pick up a car. Can you pick up a car? Victor's like, I haven't tried, but I don't know, probably could. Barry's like, oh, we have to try right now. Can you pick up the Batmobile? Victor puts down what he's working on, and he lifts the Batmobile up off the ground a little bit. Barry's like, see? Victor Stone couldn't do that. I mean, he could barely throw past more than 20. I mean, what I'm saying is that this is a gift, and we're the only people that get that. Victor smiles. He thinks, oh, okay, this kid's not so bad. Barry asks, hey, could you say that one thing from back in the day? Victor says, that's not how it works. It's gotta be the right time. Barry backs off a little bit. Right. So, like, later? Victor says, we'll see what happens. Now these characters are really affecting each other in ways that only they could. Arthur and Diana connect over their backgrounds. Barry and Diana connect over the Greek gods. Barry and Victor connect over being accidents. Also, Bruce has suits for everyone because none of them have logos or anything like that. Bruce understands the value being a symbol and wants him to feel like part of a team. Bruce makes Arthur what looks like medieval armor made of carbon fiber. Arthur says, I don't need this, man. I have my own armor. Then Arthur takes out his pauldron, his shoulder guard thing, and wrist guards. Bruce says, that's it? Arthur says, I'm bulletproof. Now just weigh me down. Plus, this thing holds my quindent, and it looks cool. See, I have a tough time with Aquaman's armor. The armor Arthur is wearing in the Aquaman trailer looks fine. The armor that he wears in Justice League does not. It doesn't add anything. It's too dark, makes him harder to see than if he were just wearing no armor at all. And my biggest problem with this, it's supposed to be this like suit of armor, I assume made of metal or something, but it really looks and feels plasticky. Like it feels like he's wearing a costume from a movie. And the single pauldron is a nod to comic Aquaman. Because we've gotten a couple of different looks for Aquaman over the years, and I always thought what they were going for with Jason Momoa was closer to the 90s reboot of Aquaman by Peter David. That's your long hair, bearded, one-armed tough guy Aquaman, as opposed to the clean-cut look people traditionally associate with the character. That version of Aquaman wears similar asymmetrical armor with a single metal sleeve over his right arm. And I think that look really works for Jason Momoa. I think that because we saw it. Before Justice League was even close to done, Warner Brothers released a poster with just Aquaman on it. I thought it was fan art for the longest time, but no, it's real, and it just says, Unite the Seven. I still have, to this day, no idea what the Unite the Seven poster was even going for. We're not even sure what the Seven are. Originally, people assumed it stood for the 7 members of the Justice League, and eventually all 7 were gonna get this kind of poster. But that never happened. There weren't even 7 members of the Justice League in the movie. And now it kind of seems like it's the 7 C's, but then it's weird that they made a poster 3 years before the movie that would reference it, which I guess would be Aquaman. I don't know. Anyway, this poster is in black and white, and Arthur is wearing a costume that we've only seen him wear in the very hard to make out 10-second clip from Batman v Superman. He's just got the pauldron and some wrist guards. I believe it's the best look we've seen on him, so let's stick with that. Bruce doesn't make a costume for Victor because Victor doesn't want to fight, and he's not going to push him on that. Plus, he doesn't really need one. Bruce does make one for Barry, and this is Bruce saying, listen, I have access to space-age materials which should be able to withstand a lot of friction. This should be perfect for you. And more important, Bruce wants to keep Barry safe. This isn't battle armor like what he made for Arthur, but this is going to protect Barry. It could take a bullet just in case. And it has Flash's traditional lightning bolt symbol. It's pretty much the exact same suit Barry wears in the real Justice League movie, except, and this is important, the head is just red. We don't have those yellow wingtips. And I know this might sound like a nitpick, not unlike my podcast, Mostly Nitpicking. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, but this will come up later. Finally, they all sit down for a short strategy meeting, during which Barry asks what everyone's code names are. No one knows what he's talking about. Barry explains that they just can't go around fighting supervillains and call each other their real names, because it would be stupid to be fighting Superman in the middle of an area with people and call him Clark, right? Bruce says that Barry's right, and then Barry takes over. Okay, for you I was thinking Waterman, right? But that's too close to Water Boy. Then I thought, well, he's got that little A on his belt, so how about Aquaman? Yeah, sure kid, whatever. And then Victor's obvious, you're a cyborg, so let's go with Cyborg. Fine. Now I had a tough time with you. First I thought Amazon, but that sounds too much like Aquaman, Amazon, you know, it could get jumbled over comms. Then I thought, she has those W's on her costume. W's? Yeah, on your chest. These aren't W's. They're... well, I guess they're W's. Right, so I'm thinking War Woman. I don't know, I've dealt with wars before, that's not who I am. Well, what about Wonder Woman? I don't hate it. Wonder Woman. And do you have a code name? Well, I was thinking maybe The Flash. Everybody laughs. Okay, Flasher. Hey, not like, no, I get it. So we have to stay away from parks and schools. Listen, how about something like Lightning Lad? Too late, you're Flash. I think it's a lovely name. And now with namings, we're done with fun and games. Everyone has their costumes, their code names. Everyone has a chip on their shoulder. Barry isn't sure if he's strong enough. Victor is scared he's a monster. Arthur doesn't play well with others. Diane is questioning her reliance on the old ways, but they're helping each other through it. But after spending time with the team, Bruce really isn't sure they're going to be enough. They aren't clicking, at least as well as he had hoped they will. There's still tension in the group, they just don't work together well yet. And Bruce goes back to the lab to take a break, finds Victor working on upgrades for some of Bruce's equipment, makes a better batarang, adds some plated armor to Bruce's suit. Bruce is very appreciative. Victor really responds to that. Barry and now Bruce are the two people outside of his father who Victor has felt appreciated by since the accident. Victor can see that Bruce is frustrated with the team. He tells Bruce, listen, I can tell you've never led a team before. I was a quarterback for a while. It's difficult. You want your team to trust you. Well, you need to give a little. You can't always act like Batman, the genius who can win any fight. Sometimes you just need to be Bruce Wayne. You need to make yourself vulnerable. Because to be fair, Batman has never really led a team. He's a leader. He's worked with a sidekick or two, but that isn't the same as being the kind of leader that this team needs. That pep talk is important. It gives Bruce a new perspective and some confidence going into the Smithsonian fight. And one last scene before we wrap this up. Bruce walks into the lab and he finds Diana. She's on the Bat computer analyzing all 4 artifacts, and it's puzzling her. Bruce asks, have you made any progress? Do you have any idea what they want with them? Diana says, no, I've been doing this for nearly 100 years. I've seen everything and I just can't figure it out. There is so much connected to some of these artifacts, and they're not even all from the same time period or location. We see the artifacts on screen. Diana circled a few symbols, an ankh, a hawk, a scarab. I have no idea how these artifacts are connected, but something about this feels off. And just as Diana says that, an alarm sounds. Some sort of security incident at the Smithsonian. It's happening. So everybody suits up. Diana flies away. Arthur dives into the Potomac River. Barry runs out the front door. Bruce jumps into the Batwing. Cyborg plugs in and starts hacking. The last shot before the midpoint is going to be our heroes, so Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Flash, all arriving at the front door of the Smithsonian, which has been broken down. Again, they're surrounded by a tornado. Bruce says, all right, everyone, we need to stick together. Call out when you see anything strange. We can do this. And then we get our first big shot of the actual Justice League. They walk slowly into the Smithsonian and prepare to meet the Legion. There is no turning back now. So, thank you to all of my patrons, especially the new ones who came on board after this last video, and the older ones who have been on board since the beginning, and the middle ones, pretty much all of you. You guys are amazing. If you want to see your name up here, as well as get access to videos early and other cool stuff, throw in literally any amount of money at patreon.com/NandoVmovies. I really appreciate it. Subscribe to this channel, click the bell for notifications on the next video in this series, watch other videos, share them everywhere videos are watched, and finally follow me on Facebook and Twitter. I'm at NandoVmovies. That's all I've got. I'll see you next time.